Clyde, Baton Rouge office since 1985. Before that, I was with the LDEQ and Hazardous Waste Division. I have also worked for a number of chemical manufacturing companies for the past 30 years as a process and project engineer. Since 1987, Woodward Clyde has been providing environmental services to marine shale. During that time period, we have handled a number of technical and regulatory issues for marine shale as independent consulting engineers, including the preparation of marine shale's RECRA Part B permit application, which is the topic of discussion here tonight. I have been a manager or coordinator for essentially all the work we have done for marine shale. I have visited the site on numerous occasions over this 7-year period. I'm well familiar with marine shale's operation. I'm also familiar with the environmental regulations applicable to marine shale. As a professional engineer, I would like to offer a few facts and comments related to marine shale for consideration by EPA. I will be brief and to the point. Marine shale does in fact manufacture an aggregate product and should be regulated as a BIF unit. The aggregate manufactured by marine shale is a useful road building and construction fill material. We have conducted both laboratory and field tests on the aggregate product. The results of these tests prove that it meets engineering requirements for road building and construction fill. Reports from these tests are available to anyone. The aggregate manufactured by marine shale is not hazardous by EPA standards. We have sampled and tested the aggregate product on numerous occasions, and the laboratory results are available to document the aggregate's non-hazardous nature. Furthermore, marine shale has demonstrated by conducting tests in accord with EPA test protocol that it meets the EPA standards for industrial furnaces. The compliance certification report prepared by Woodward Clyde is included in marine shale's Part B application. Based on these facts and our best professional judgment, we believe that the marine shale aggregate kiln is a BIF unit and that it is in full compliance with the BIF regulations. It is also worth noting that the initial draft of a 3-year federal health assessment of marine shale's operation found no adverse health outcomes in the nearby community related to marine shale's operation. The study was conducted by the federal government's leading health agency, the Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry. It should also be noted that marine shale is the only company which has successfully achieved mass vitrification of hazardous recyclable materials. As mentioned earlier by Mr. Harlow, by Dr. Gold and Mr. Wade, marine shale's patented process has been cited in an official handbook of the EPA's Office of Research and Development as an example of a process which is capable of meeting all EPA standards for turning hazardous waste into useful products. And the many times I have been to the plant since 1987,
Can you wrap it up, Mr.?
I have never seen any adverse impact on the environment from marine shale's operation. In fact, the facility has been in a continual state of upgrading to improve environmental protection and safety. I have found marine shale to be technically advanced and an environmentally sound aggregate manufacturing facility. In view of these facts, I respectfully request that the EPA reconsider its proposal to deny the permit and issue a permit based on the merits of the application. Thank you.
Mr. Tony Jones.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Jones. I'm the Senior Project Engineer with Woodward Clyde Consultants, and I manage the air quality services provided by Woodward Clyde's Lake Charles, Louisiana office. I hold bachelor and master degrees in chemical engineering from McNeese State University, and I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Louisiana. In addition, I have over 12 years of experience in process engineering, chemical plant operations, and environmental affairs. From December 1986 to August 1988, I worked for the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality in the Air Quality Division. My perspective of marine shell processes includes experience both as a regulator as well as a consultant. During my presentation, I would like to present technical information concerning marine shell's air emissions from its Amelia, Louisiana facility. Marine Shell has conducted numerous source tests to quantify the pollutant emissions from its industrial furnace. The results of these source tests are public record and are available for review by any person. Marine Shell's existing emission limits are detailed in State Air Permit 1036M-1. Based on the source tests conducted for the Marine Shell facility, the industrial furnace may exceed some emission limits in the existing State Air Permit. I would like to state for the record that Marine Shell Processes has been seeking to revise this permit to address all emission sources in its facility for over 5 years. Additionally, I would like to state that Marine Shell's existing State Air Permit contains emission limits for carbon monoxide and total hydrocarbons, which are both unrealistic and without sound technical basis. Based on the boiler and industrial furnace or BIF compliance test conducted in June 1991, Marine Shell's industrial furnace can comply with all applicable BIF performance and emission standards. Marine Shell has sought for several years to revise unrealistic emission limits in its existing State Air Permit. The proposed emission limits sought by Marine Shell are contained in the May 1989 permit application filed with the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. Woodward Clyde Consultants prepared this document, and it was prepared in accordance with our standards of practice, and it establishes emission limits which are both reasonable and protective of both human health and the environment. This statement is based on the results of mathematical modeling of the proposed pollutant emissions using U.S. EPA-approved air dispersion models. The predicted off-site impact from the proposed emissions is much lower than the established National Ambient Air Quality Standards, or NAAQS. NAAQS are ambient air standards for pollutants which establish ambient air concentrations below which no harm is expected to occur in humans, animal life, or vegetation. The NAAQS are based on scientific data with an added margin of safety to protect human health and welfare. The public record shows that the off-site impact from the proposed emission limits for oxides of nitrogen and carbon monoxide are less than 1% of the applicable NAAQS for NOx and CO. Although modeling has not been conducted for particulates and sulfur dioxide, it can be shown that the off-site impact of these emissions would also be well below the established ambient air standards. There is no NAAQS set for total hydrocarbons. When Marine Shell's requested emissions are compared to other industrial facilities operating in Louisiana, it can be seen that these facilities have been permitted to emit significantly larger quantities of air contaminants. The emission values noted on the poster boards to my left were obtained from the 1992 Louisiana Criteria Pollutant Emission Inventory reports. These emission levels are compared to the proposed emission levels requested in Marine Shell's May 1989 Louisiana Air Permit application. For the record, it should be noted that Marine Shell's actual emissions in 1992 were below the requested emission limits contained in the aforementioned State Air Permit application. On the basis of publicly reported pollutant emissions, there are other facilities in Louisiana which have significantly higher emissions than those requested by Marine Shell in its May 1989 State Air Permit application. I would like some people to look to your left. Marine Shell requested for particulates an emission limit of 43.3 tons per year. we can see that there are facilities in St. Mary Parish. I want to say that there's at least one facility on there besides Marine Shell, which is also in St. Mary Parish. We see facilities with up to 388 tons per year. Also, we see for sulfur dioxide emissions, Marine Shell requested 65.8 tons per year. We see facilities emitting over 3,800 tons per year. For oxides of nitrogen, Marine Shell requested an emission limit of 183.45 tons per year. There are facilities in Louisiana that are emitting in excess of 9,700 tons per year. For carbon monoxide, Marine Shell requested an emission limit of 139.1 tons per year. There are facilities that are emitting over 130,000 tons per year of CO. Also, volatile organic compound emissions. Marine Shell requested emission limits of 25.29 tons per year for volatile organic compounds. There are facilities that are emitting in excess of 4,800 tons per year. I would also like to compare Marine Shell's requested emission limits for total hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, and oxides of nitrogen with emissions from common everyday emission sources.
Need to wrap it up pretty quick, Mr. Jones.
Marine Shell's annual emissions of hydrocarbons, carbon monoxides, and oxides of nitrogen are equivalent to emissions from 833 cars, 636 cars for carbon monoxide, and 9,200 cars for NOx, respectively. I will not state the basis for the calculation. It's in the public record. However, I would like to state that there are over 16,410 vehicles per day that pass Marine Shell on Highway 90. Therefore, the oxides of nitrogen emissions is less than 60% of the annual emissions from cars that pass that facility, assuming that they are all driven 15,000 miles per year. In summary, it is our best professional judgment that the emissions requested by Marine Shell processes are neither unreasonable or imprudent, and that the current state air permit under which Marine Shell operates contains emission limits which are unrealistic and without technical merit. Based on previously conducted air dispersion modeling using US EPA approved models, the proposed emission limits requested by Marine Shell do not present a threat to human health or the environment. I would like to state for the record that Woodward Clyde fully supports the public participation process, and I would like to thank the US EPA for this opportunity to speak at this public hearing.
Mr. Jones, your testimony in those charts, do you have copies for us at this time? Do you want to submit them later? Why don't you do it all at once then? If you would, and if you would reference Exhibit 18 to the public hearing. Would appreciate it, thanks. And send them to the same address, Mr. Bill Gallagher at the EPA office. Representative Jack Smith.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jack D. Smith. I'm State Representative in District 50, which is a district that is adjacent to this district that you're now in, which is 51, in which Marine Shell resides. Some of you may wonder why I'm here tonight speaking. It's not even in my district, this company. And those of you that don't know, the issue of Marine Shell has become, over the years, quite political. As a matter of fact, I recall when I was at a public hearing similar to this, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I can't remember the exact date, I chose not to speak at that meeting because I didn't know a lot about Marine Shell. I heard a lot of bad things about it, a lot of rumors. Hot political issue. Didn't want to get near it, didn't really want to touch it that much. But since it was such an issue, I took an initiative after I was elected to this office to research this company somewhat. I'd never been out there. So I took them up on an offer. I went and toured the plant. Very impressive what I saw. I took them up on their offer to meet their people. A lot of them whom I represent, who live in my district, they also were very impressive, very knowledgeable, educated me a great deal. One night about 11:30, I took them up on another offer. Said, you can come by anytime. 11:30 at night, I came unannounced. Asked them to look at some paperwork, because they said I could, and I did. And all the rumors of the missing paperwork and different things that I heard, they started becoming, this isn't going on. So I started looking at it further, started looking at some of the charts that you've seen, started looking at some of the numbers. So I feel compelled to come here tonight and say, as representing people who work at Marine Shell, who live in my district, as of yet, nothing has been of concrete, of substance, that has been proven against this company where they're doing damage to my constituents or myself or my family. And one thing struck me not long ago that I picked up, and I don't know, I just came in and I apologize for being late tonight. I don't know what's been said here prior to my arriving. I picked up a publication from EPA. And in the publication, it almost identifies the marine shell process of what they do is the wave of the future and the wave of where we need to be going to handle our waste stream in this country. So I have some problems now with the process in which is taking place even here tonight, because as I understand it, this issue is going to be argued and probably decided in federal court in a few months. And this has been dragging on now for a number of years, and I think I speak for myself, along with several people in this room, probably on both sides, that want this issue resolved, and we believe it should be resolved in the federal court. Probably not in this auditorium. Because I certainly can't speak on the charts and the numbers and the figures. I'm not a chemist. I don't have any PhDs. But I do represent people. And I thought that I should come here tonight and speak up and tell you what I have done the last few years after being elected, the people that I've spoken to, and whether you've had the opportunity to go out to that plant and do that, I have. And I felt that you should hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Smith. We are on number 31 of 87 now. Stacy McCoy.
Good evening. My name is Stacy McCoy, and I'm the Assistant Technical Manager at Marine Shell Processors. Before my employment with MSP, I was an industrial and hazardous waste investigator for the Texas Natural Resource Conservation Commission. As a record inspector for the state of Texas, I've investigated all types of hazardous waste generators, all the way from large industrial generators down to private residences. Everyone in this room contributes either directly or indirectly to the generation of hazardous waste. The volume of hazardous waste generated on a daily basis is enormous. It's not going away. Waste minimization isn't going to take care of all of our problems. MSP has given us an opportunity to handle these products in a safe, environmentally safe, and viable manner. Industry now has an economically viable means to dispose of these materials and produce a usable product. As consumers, we're all becoming more environmentally aware and are beginning to make conscientious choices to recycle and buy environmentally friendly products. But as we're doing this, we're still not reducing the volumes of hazardous waste being generated. There's not enough landfill capacity for all the hazardous materials being created. MSP has developed a patented vitrification process that uses these hazardous materials and transforms them into a safe and usable product. I respect the opinions of the opposition, and they've done a very good job of pointing out the problems, but they've done nothing to identify any solutions. I have an outstanding record as a record inspector for the TNRCC, and during that time I never compromised my integrity. I would not have accepted employment with MSP if I thought for a minute that I would be required to lower my standards. I found no reason, during my employment with MSP to compromise my standards or my integrity. I encourage you to allow MSP to operate as a BIF and do our country a service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. McCoy. Danny Godet.
Mr. Chandler, I have a question for you. I, tonight, have seen the third generation of people, family members that my family have been on for 3 generations. And I tell you what you and your department and what the Department of Environmental Quality and Department of Natural Resources have done to me as a citizen. This young man came up here tonight to speak for marine shell processes. I have been involved in this thing for 9 years. I have spoke tonight to friends of mine that are well established with marine shell processes and make their living at marine shell processes. And I stand in here tonight in opposition to marine shell processes. This is a situation that you put me in your department, and the state government of Louisiana are not simply enforcing the rules and regulations regarding this facility in the very beginning. And I just want to thank you very much for doing this to me. My name is Danny Godet, and I'm a citizen of Morgan City, Louisiana. The views that I express here tonight are my own. I represent no organization, no group, or any individuals. And I have been expressing these same views since the end of 1984 and the beginning of 1985. Marine shell process began operation in April of 1985 with a non-hazardous all-fuel permit. Shortly after that, they started incinerating a hazardous waste. And Mr. Bella that sat right here a while ago, he was right. He was a state representative. Right then and there, he should have known something was wrong. But what he did was just like everybody else, just blended into the background. What they did was close their eyes and turn their backs on the situation. As the Department of Natural Resources, as the Department of Environmental Quality, and your Department of the Environmental Protection Agency. This is what's happening in this case. Now we just had a representative of the state doing the same thing. The only thing that I've ever wanted in this situation was for people to stand up and simply do what was right. And I agree with the marine shell processes lawyer. You people have not done your job. You have put this community through the ringer. And you better use this as a test case to make sure that you do not do this to another community anywhere in this country. Because if you do, you're going to be ashamed of yourself. Marine shell processes' credibility, their integrity, and their character was established in 1985. And that is simply this: a company that has a total disregard for the laws of this parish, this state, and this country. They make no mistake about it. You people should have the early written history of why they changed over from incinerating a non-hazardous all-field product to a hazardous waste. I've given you written information regarding the reasons why they've done that. In order to give any type of permit to this facility, the entire history of this company must be considered. And that history is simply this: a company that has a total and absolute and disregard for the laws of this country. And as of late, an arrogance towards our laws. This is why I'm here. I also like to second what Ann Garisco said earlier tonight regarding Dr. Paul Tomplay's final statement as the Secretary of the Department of Environmental Quality. That statement that man made was just a number, was a statement that reinforced my fears from the very beginning. And those fears were simply this: that marine shell processes, after their character and integrity was well established in the very beginning of 1985, that something was wrong, that marine shell processes pose the greatest danger to our community since the beginning of this community, since its inception. In order to give this permit to them, you must consider this history. And the only thing that you can do is deny this final permit. Now, in closing, I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to say this. I'd like to speak to the responsible people of this community. That's a few members of my council in the city of Morgan City, they know who they are. To the Mayor Berwick, Mr. Hardaway, to the Mayor Patson, Mr. Leebury. I'd like to address myself to the school board, and especially to our teachers that are in Morgan City and in Amelia, Louisiana. Food for thought. I wonder how this community is going to feel when we start importing hazardous waste in this community from a foreign country.
You need to wrap it up, Mr.
I'm going to say that again. Importing hazardous waste in this community from a foreign country through our Port Authority of Morgan City to be incinerated in marine shell processes. Now, in conclusion, I'd just like to say, I'm here for two reasons. Make sure that the laws of this country are enforced regarding marine shell processes. But most importantly, I'm here for that little girl that rides a little pink and green bike across from my street in Lakeside subdivision. For the little girl that rides that little blue bike. For the black and white children that play across the street from me in that driveway that shoot basketball. Each and every one of these children, make no mistake about it, have an inherited right. To play in that subdivision or anywhere else in this country without the chance of breathing polluted air. This is why I'm here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jaudet. I'm going to take one more person and then I'm going to take another break. Stan Robluski.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Stan Robleski. I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Louisiana State University. I have worked 15 years in industry, 8 years in the hazardous waste business. I specialize in heavy metals analysis by atomic absorption and ductily coupled argon plasma. I'm also a certified hazardous materials manager. I have worked for 3.5 years at Rollins Environmental Services in Baton Rouge, and I worked for 2 years at Chemical Waste Management at its Port Arthur Incineration Facility. I have been employed at Marine Shell for 3 years. I'm the lab manager and the Quality Assurance Quality Control Officer who ensures that the aggregate produced by MSP is environmentally safe. We have tested thousands of samples of both types of aggregate produced using the methods in SW 846, the EPA's procedures for determining contaminant levels in solid waste and products. If our material fails to meet land ban criteria for using the material as fill, then the failed batch is reprocessed until it passes the guidelines established by EPA. I'm also the QA/QC officer for the certification of sale piles of material for sale by MSP. I have worked closely with third-party contractors such as Woodward Clyde Consultants in certifying thousands of tons of MSP aggregate, ensuring that the material is environmentally safe prior to being moved from MSP to the property of purchasers of the aggregate. If the material fails certification, it is reprocessed until it passes certification. I present for the record a document prepared by Mr. Doss H. White of the U.S. Bureau of Mines and presented at the Forum for Geology and Industrial Minerals in April of 1992. In this document, Mr. White states that two problems facing the U.S. in the 21st century is an overabundance of waste and a dwindling number of acceptable sites from which aggregate materials can be mined to maintain and expand the nation's infrastructure. Until recently in the state of Louisiana, oyster shell, dredged from Lake Pontchartrain, constituted the majority of in-state produced aggregate. In 1990, the state banned this practice of dredging. Currently, one firm mines and crushes the anhydrate caprock from the Winfield Salt Dome in Wynn Parish, and another firm mines and crushes a tertiary sandstone for local aggregate needs. Most of Louisiana's aggregate requirements are supplied by out-of-state quarries located along the Mississippi River. Also, one firm is shipping aggregate to Louisiana from Yucatan. The document cites 3 firms in Louisiana that fill the aggregate void by marketing artificial aggregates that once were disposed as waste materials. One firm is mining and crushing a well-indurated calcium sulfate waste resulting from freon manufacture. Another produces a slag and coal gasification of its chemical complex. The third firm cited in the document as producing artificial aggregate is MSP. Mr. White describes the MSP process. He states how our primary aggregate is highly absorbent and has high compaction properties. This primary aggregate has been used successfully as foundation and road base and as a fill along pipelines. The primary aggregate, because of its low pH, high absorbency, absence of hazardous levels of heavy metals, and low cost, has been used successfully as a substitute for kiln dust and solidification of pits, ponds, and lagoons. He also states that the slag aggregate has been used as a base material in road beds and building construction, and that since it's highly permeable, has been used in the reclamation of oil-filled pits and ponds of coastal swamps and marshes. In this document, Mr. White shows how through innovative thinking, 3 companies have introduced for use by the public materials which were once waste materials, but have been processed into usable products, one of which is MSP. Marine Shell has also been active in the academic community. When Nicholls State University was seeking funds to help install their scanning electron microscope, X-ray fluorescence spectrometer that had been donated to them by another company, Marine Shell gave the university the $5,000 needed for the installation. We also donated an ICP, an instrument used for metals analysis and research, to the University of New Orleans. My assistant lab manager, Eugene Billot, and myself helped to install the instrument at UNO and showed them how to operate the instrument and maintain it. Marine Shell has been proactive in helping to develop the education of their employees. We have set up a chemistry course with Nicholls State University where the professor comes on site to teach the students. The company pays the tuition fees for the course. Also, this semester, the company has paid the tuition fees of all individuals seeking a higher education at both NSU and LSU. MSP has assisted myself by paying for seminars and courses involving the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, the laws dealing with hazardous waste. These courses were sponsored by Lion Technology and McCoy & Associates, 2 consulting firms from New Jersey and Colorado, respectively. MSP also paid for a review course at LSU that I attended to become a certified hazardous materials manager. Because of MSP's generosity, I passed the certification exam, and I am indebted to them for supporting me in my efforts. I have previously worked at 2 rigger incinerators, Rollins Environmental Services in Baton Rouge and Chemical Waste Management in Port Arthur, Texas. I have seen hazardous waste ash and MSP vitrified aggregate and have tested both materials. There is no comparison. Vitrification is a quantum leap above incineration. Any actions to deny MSP's BIF permit and to persuade the public to have MSP discontinue their operation is a disservice to the people of St. Mary Parish, to the people of Louisiana, and to the people of the United States of America.
Okay. The document you were quoting from will be Exhibit 18. It's 5 minutes to 10. I'm going to take a 10-minute break again, and I will resume at 5 after 10 with Charles Richard, followed by Brett Prejean. We won't be able to pick up the testimony. Please begin, Mr. Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Charles Richard. I've been a business owner and a resident of St. Mary Parish for 31 years now. First comment I'd like to say, I'm in complete agreement with Mr. B.J. Bella's statements. I have a letter here addressed to Mr. Bill Gallagher that I'd like to read into the records. Dear Mr. Gallagher, as a businessman, I have developed a healthy respect for the competition in business. As a citizen, however, I am deeply troubled that the United States government has found it expedient to take sides with it come down on the side of the status quo rather than on the side of progress. I serve as a member of the Marine Shale Processors Citizens Advisory Board. I did not accept this responsibility lightly. Before accepting that role, I had many opportunities to visit the plant. I am convinced the company is on the leading edge in the technology that has been developed here in Amelia, Louisiana, will reign in the 21st century as the best demonstrated available technology to utilize hazardous materials. I remind you that EPA's own Research and Development 1992 handbook also makes that judgment. When you propose to deny MSP's industrial furnace permit, you not only propose to deny jobs for 380 people, you propose not only to deny this state an industry with a $83.6 million annual impact, but more importantly, you propose to deny the industrial world the availability of the only practical technology that protects the environment against long-term contamination that goes with the business of hazardous waste landfills. St. Mary Parish needs more companies, not less, that exemplify good corporate citizenship, more companies that place a high priority on research and development, more companies that provide excellent continuing educational opportunities for its own workforce, more companies that align with the state's universities to educate future leaders, and empathetically, more entrepreneurs with the courage to fight against vested interests for what is right, decent, and fair. This parish has suffered the consequences of a competitive-driven campaign that has divided friends and families. The public record is replete with admissions from the legal counsel of the Hazardous Waste Treatment Council that competitors worked public hearings such as the one here tonight and supported speakers to fight MSP. These issues should be put to rest. I respectfully ask that the EPA reevaluate its proposed denial and issue MSP permit immediately. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Richard. Brett Prejean.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brett Prejean, and I'm here to represent Southland Fire and Safety Equipment, a local company. We sell and service firefighting and safety equipment primarily to the petrochemical industry in South Louisiana. We have been in business for more than 21 years. Over the years, Marine Shale Processors have become one of our best customers. They purchase a substantial amount of first quality safety equipment every year, in addition pay large sums to ensure that the equipment is maintained properly. Our service technicians who perform work at Marine Shale are uniformly impressed with that company's facilities and safety program. Marine Shell's superb safety program, in fact, is a model for others in the recycling industry. We do not believe that a company which would dedicate so many resources to improving the safety of its employees and the people of the community around it would risk the health, safety, or lives of anyone who uses its products. We do not believe that the concerns expressed over Marine Shell's recycling process stem from legitimate worries about the safety of the process itself. Rather, we believe that the charges come from its waste disposal competitors, those who rely on old, pollution-creating techniques such as incineration. Marine Shell has sought and received a patent on its recycling process, and that patent threatens its rivals who are unable to be innovative themselves. If the efforts of these other companies succeed, a fine company which has a strong commitment to health and safety will be ruined. Hundreds of people will lose their jobs, including its own employees, as well as many at companies like ours, which strive to help Marine Shell remain a good corporate citizen. One of the fundamental principles of American business is that we reward innovation, not punish it. Marine Shell's competitors are asking you to help them unfairly compete against an innovative competitor by regulating it out of business. Surely you cannot imagine that this is the proper role of your agency. Please do not ruin this good corporate citizen by forcing them to halt their recycling program. That would have a disastrous effect on Louisiana's economy, which is only now coming out of a long downturn. Thank you for hearing our concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Prejean. S.M. Sneed.
May I defer, please, to Dr. Everett White, who has traveled all the way from California to be with us.
Is Dr. White already signed up? Are you taking his place in line, or are you deferring completely?
No, I'd like for him to take my place in line, just swap places with him.
Okay. Dr. White.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Everett White. I have a PhD in economics from Virginia Tech. I'm currently on the economics department faculty at California State University. And I've prepared an economic impact analysis for marine shell processors for each of the 5 years from 1988 through 1992. In this analysis, I look at marine shell processors' expenditures and use the U.S. Department of Commerce Regional Multipliers Handbook to determine the full impact of MSP on employment, earnings, total expenditures in the state, and the government revenues and expenditures. The impact for Louisiana and also the impact for the Morgan City Amelia area I've detailed in my studies, and tonight I want to speak to some of the numbers that I've generated over these last 5-year period. Also, I want to state that MSP emphasizes local purchase whenever possible. So when they could buy some inputs for the production process from out of state, they always look first for an in-state or local supplier. And this has resulted in their total impact being more significant in the Morgan City area than it might otherwise have been. So there's several charts, bar charts I've prepared that are over here on the screen. The first one shows the Louisiana expenditures impact of MSP, which for 1992, the most recent year I studied, shows over $41 million of expenditures, and these are actual expenditures by the company in the state of Louisiana. And out of that $41 million, over $18 million is in the Morgan City area. The next slide will show the total expenditures impact, which takes into account the multiplier effect, that is the effect that when MSP spends money in the local community, it provides income to people who then go out and spend their income, creating more expenditures. The total expenditure impact of MSP is $83,620,000 $620,521 over the state of Louisiana in 1992. And of that total, over 36 million is in the Morgan City, Amelia area. This particular statistic is the one that is then used to generate approximations of the number of jobs and the earnings that are created for citizens from these expenditures. So the next slide shows the employment impact. In 1992, Marine Shale's operations generated 1,718 jobs in the state of Louisiana. Of these 1,718 jobs, approximately 746 would be in the Morgan City area. So even though MSP employs 300 and some people, they have this much larger impact on jobs. And so some of the people here tonight who don't work for MSP, they may not have jobs if MSP is no longer allowed to operate. The next slide shows the earnings impact. This is the earnings of households, the income that households receive because of MSP's operations. The total in 1992 was over $23 million of income generated for households in Louisiana. Again, in the Morgan City area, it was over $10 million. The next slide will show the government revenue impact. Of course, MSP pays taxes, and also those who earn their income as a result of MSP's operations pay taxes. Governments in Louisiana, state, federal, and local governments receive almost $1.4 million of revenue because of MSP's operations. And the next slide shows what I call the full government fiscal impact. In addition to revenues that are generated to the governments by MSP's operation, also the fact that MSP operates in Louisiana means that the governments have fewer outlays. If these 1,700 people who are employed because of MSP's operations were no longer employed, government would be paying out monies for unemployment compensation, aid to families with dependent children, and other programs. So when we calculate those in, we find that almost $11 million is the total government fiscal impact. That means that if MSP were not operating, or suddenly to stop operating, governments would be obligated, they would have $11 million impact on their expenditures and their revenues. They'd be $11 million worse off if MSP were not operating in Louisiana. The last slide shows the summary of the impacts in Louisiana from 1992. Notice these other slides showed from 88 through 92, which, as you can see in this one that's still on the screen, show a significant increase in the economic impact over these years. So this summarizes the 1992 impact, the government fiscal impact of $11 million, the earnings impact of $23 million, the MSP spending, direct spending of almost $42 million, and the total spending impact of $83.6 million. I'd like to conclude by saying that these are economic benefits which will be lost to the citizens of Louisiana and Morgan City area if MSP is not permitted to operate any longer. So I encourage the panel to consider these data when they look at whether or not MSP should be given a license to continue to operate. And I have my complete report from 1992, which I'd like to submit to you. Thank you very much.
Yes, Dr. White, thank you. Now, does this include all the charts and everything? This includes the charts you've just spoken of? Before you leave, you're going to send them in. Which? Okay, thank you. These will be Exhibit 21, Dr. White. James Peoples.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a statement in support of marine shale processors. My name is James M. Peoples. I'm the president of the Pastoral Council of my church. I've been a certified public accountant for 22 years. I have an undergraduate degree from Duke University and a Master of Business Administration degree from Tulane University. And I've been the controller of marine shale processors for the last 5 years. When I joined Marine Shale 5 years ago, I heard that the company might be somewhat controversial. So I joined the company with an open, somewhat skeptical mind, deciding that if I didn't like what I saw, I could just leave the company. But in the 5 years that I have been employed by this company, I have not once seen the company do anything that I would consider to be illegal or immoral. What I did find was a company with the best technology in the world for dealing with hazardous waste. A company with highly talented employees who are intensely loyal and dedicated because they believe so strongly in the process. A company which ranked for 2 consecutive years among Inc. magazine's 500 fastest growing privately held American companies. I found a company whose process was so innovative that it was issued a U.S. patent, as well as patents in numerous foreign countries. I found a company that earned the prestigious Blue Chip Enterprise Award, sponsored by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Connecticut Mutual Insurance, and Nation's Business Magazine. A company that was honored by the East St. Mary Parish Chamber of Commerce as its 1992 Business of the Year. A company whose founder was selected as Entrepreneur of the Year for the states of Louisiana and Texas in a program sponsored by Merrill Lynch, by the international accounting firm Ernst & Young, and by Inc. magazine. A company that was named one of 3 Louisiana companies as a finalist for the U.S. Senate Innovation Award. I found a company that consistently gives to charitable causes in our community, that has provided Santa to thousands of children, that has provided food certificates to needy families, and that has provided over $100,000 of support and hundreds of hours of volunteer work to help the residents of this parish when Hurricane Andrew hit, long before the U.S. government provided any assistance at all. I found a company that provides almost 400 jobs and that has produced an annual economic impact of more than $83 million a year. I found a company that was so concerned about protecting the environment that it hired as its Director of Environmental Compliance the retired Deputy Director of the Waste Management Division of EPA Region 4. As controller, I have seen a company that has spent millions of dollars on environmental improvements and on tests to make sure that the company is not harming the environment or endangering the citizens of this parish. I doubt that there is any other manufacturing process in this country that is more thoroughly tested for environmental safety than MSP's process. First, MSP tests the acceptability of incoming materials. And unlike our competitors, who have intentionally and illegally processed radioactive material, which, by the way, was sent to them illegally by the U.S. government, Marine Shale uses a Geiger counter to make sure that the company does not receive any radioactive materials. Marine Shale regularly tests rainwater runoffs and has groundwater monitoring wells to make sure that the company is not polluting our water supply. Marine Shale has put in its own meteorological station. Whereas most companies don't want you to know what's coming out of their stacks, Marine Shale monitors and records stack emissions on a continuous basis using a patent-pending continuous emission monitoring system. The company also tests its aggregate products to make sure that they're completely non-toxic and will not leach. These tests are performed both by MSP's laboratory and by outside independent EPA-approved laboratories. As I've said before, I doubt that there is any other manufacturing process in this country that is more thoroughly tested for environmental safety than MSP's process.
Can you wrap it up, Mr. Peoples, please?
If you don't believe MSP, the company has a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week open door policy by which you can drop in on the plant at any time to be given a tour and see for yourself. I know of no other companies which are so open to inspection by the public as Marine Shale. As for my job, the owners of this company have never asked me to do anything illegal or immoral. All they've ever asked me to do is the best job that I can and to have an accounting system and accounting records that we can all be proud of. On the dark side, I found a government bureaucracy and members of the press which have been easily manipulated by our competitors, whose technology is so inferior that it is almost like the horse and buggy industry fighting the new car industry at the turn of the century. In the dirty tricks area, while Marine Shale and the EPA are getting ready to go to court in April to have most outstanding issues decided in a court of law, the EPA has called this public hearing to take attention from their own weak case, to divert MSP's attention, and to try to generate adverse publicity in an effort to prejudice the judge and potential jurors. This action stomps on the concept of fair play and due process of law, a deplorable action to be taken by any agency of the U.S. government. When there's so many polluters and so much pollution in this country, I'm very upset that the EPA has wasted millions of dollars of taxpayers' money trying to put the company that can do something about the problem of pollution out of business, instead of spending that money to clean up pollution and to promote better technologies. Instead of being used to clean up the environment, our tax money is being used to enrich the attorneys. The problem of pollution will not go away.
Mr. Peoples, you only have another sentence or two. Thank you.
All right. Our opposition, you didn't do that to.
They all kept to 5 minutes.
No,
and
they didn't.
please don't argue with me, Mr. Peoples.
All right. Marine Shale has asked to be regulated under the BIP regulations, but the EPA wants marine shale to be regulated under the incinerator regulations. This is another example of typical government inconsistency when the EPA itself states that the BIP rules are more stringent than the incinerator rules. And I cite Federal Register Volume 56, number 35, February 21st, 1991, Rules and Regulations 7189. And I have just a couple more sentences. The EPA has called marine shale a sham recycler, when its own scientists and consultants have said that we produce a useful product. In a disgraceful cover-up, the EPA has attempted to conceal the report of its consultants for years, a report MSP was only recently able to obtain through discovery. Mr. Chairman, I urge you to grant the permit that marine shale seeks. Marine shale is not a sham recycler. Please don't you be a sham environmental protection agency. Thank you.
Mr. Richard Kent. Richard Kent, did he leave? Mr. Sneed.
Mr. Chairman, I came to Marine Shale Processors in 1990. I'm privileged to serve as its Chief Financial Officer. I'm a native of Louisiana. I think a reasonably decent person. So it's not enough to say merely that I want no part of a process nor a company which poses threat to human health or the environment of this community. While such a statement is true as far as it goes, it understates the intensity of my pride to be associated with the splendid people of MSP. And it likewise understates the fervor of my belief that MSP has brought to the marketplace the best proven and economically feasible technology available to us for the recovery and constructive reuse of materials otherwise classified as hazardous. Mr. Chairman, an important factor of my pride and enjoyment of being associated with marine shale processors is that which I refer to as a corporate, relentless pursuit of excellence. The company's taste for superlatives is insatiable. Witness, please, the accolades to which previous speakers have aspired. I respectfully suggest and submit to you that there is no handler or manager or treater or disposer of hazardous waste, no one in the hazardous waste business in the country, to my knowledge, that has ever been honored by its own local Chamber of Commerce as the Business Citizen of the Year. Marine shale enjoys and boasts of that distinction. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, believing most sincerely that ours is a safe and a much needed technology, I am dismayed by the costs I see expended by marine shale processors in unnecessary proceedings by an agency who on the one hand says we are not what we have proven and certified by independent examination testing that we are, namely a BIF, at the same time whose other arm seems to say that vitrification is the way to go. Mr. Chairman, you've seen the economic impact that marine shale has on the immediate vicinity and on the state of Louisiana. I respectfully request that you can weigh heavily those economic considerations, but only after you are satisfied, as we are satisfied and genuinely believe that the process is not only safe, but it is the best available technology in the world today. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. Sneed. Robert Bourgeois, Dr. Bourgeois.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Robert Bourgeois, physician here in Morgan City. Lived here since 1963. I left Morgan City in 1986 during very troubled economic times. 15 months ago, I returned with my wife and family. My father and I decided to make a long-term investment in Morgan City by building a state-of-the-art facility for the practice of medicine. We realized a significant need for primary health care providers in this area. We felt that the economy had begun to turn around and it was becoming stronger. Unfortunately, we now hear that several more companies may be moving away for various reasons. Sadly, this means more friends and neighbors will be out of work or losing their businesses. We all need to realize that the discussion we have tonight may have a significant impact on the local economy. Accordingly, conclusions made here should be arrived at after careful consideration. I'm a husband, a father, and a physician, as well as a member of this community. I too have a genuine concern for the quality of life in this area. I had significant experience in corporate and occupational medicine while living in Florida. I was the group medical director for Martin Marietta Electronics, Information, and Missiles Group, with over 23,000 covered employees. We performed thousands of medical surveillance physical examinations annually. My staff and I completed the OSHA 24-hour hazardous materials course and the annual updates. I was the instructor for the medical surveillance portion of all these courses. In my opinion, MSP has the most comprehensive medical surveillance program in this area. Besides the recommended testing, they include many more parameters as a wellness benefit to their employees. Because I've only been here for 15 months, I'm not able to comment on the past. And we had plenty of stories about the past. I wasn't here then, I don't know anything about the past. However, I can state that I'm impressed by the quality of the current medical program. Their concern for safety and health of their employees and the community seems to be a top priority. I feel comfortable with Marie Shell's operations at this time. I await proof from EPA in the very near future as to whether or not they're in compliance or not in compliance. Hopefully, we will all look to scientific reasoning and the regulations governing this industry to give us this answer. I would ask that you too will wait for legitimate proof one way or another. We should all demand that the EPA resolve this as soon as possible for the sake of our community. Thank you.
Melvin Bourgeois, Dr. Melvin Bourgeois.
I'd like to make you believe that I was the younger of the group. Have on the floor. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Melvin G. Bourgeois. I am a physician and have been a resident of Morgan City for 31 years. My wife is Jerry and we have 6 children. As of today, only 2 reside here in the Morgan City area. They had to move in search of jobs not offered in the area in the state. All of them are now back working in the state. I would like to see them all come back to a climate of economic growth. Several years ago, I spoke to this body. I explained my position, and I will repeat it now. Our community and area have lost many of our good people because of the slowdown in the local economy. Our people, including our youth, were moving out daily. The economy has improved, and indeed, lots of our people and children are back. My own son came back to a promising economy. There are signs of new construction all around the area. This must continue, and we want to encourage continued growth. There are rumors circulating daily that several industries may leave our area because of geographical and/or political reasons. We as a community cannot afford to lose a single job. To survive and grow, we must help the companies we have now and encourage more to locate here. Members of this panel, several years ago, I asked you to please do your job. Either prove that Marine Shell Processes is doing its job and encourage it to do better, or if it is operating in violation of the law, then have the deficiencies corrected or shut it down. Tonight, I ask the same. Please do your job. Marine Shell Processes has helped our community in many ways without being asked or solicited. They did a lot for us during Andrew. Anytime they have seen a need in our area, they pitched in to help. They did not ask whether a person was for them or against them. Marine Shell Processor is very unselfish. Can we say that about ourselves? Let's look to a promising future with a growing economy and a healthful environment for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bourgeois. Frank Domino Sr.
Hello, my name is Frank Domino Sr. I'm 74 years of age, married, have 3 children, 9 grandchildren. I think you heard one of my grandsons speak here tonight. I've been in the automobile business here in Morgan City for the past 48 years. I'm invested heavily in this area. I've been a civic leader of this community all my adult life, serving as city councilman of this community for 16 years, serving on the Morgan City Harbor and Terminal District for 9 years as vice president, served as president of the Chamber of Commerce of this community, and headed up numerous fundraising drives, including the Heart and Cancer Fund Drive for the entire parish. I headed up a finance committee meeting that raised $3 million to start to build this beautiful hospital that we here in Morgan City. So you see, I'm not a man that would want to tear down this community. I'm a man that wants to promote this community and build this community. I think I know what's right or wrong for the community because I put a lot of research in what I do. Yes, I want clean water. I want clean air. I want green grass and beautiful flowers. And I'm depending on you people sitting there to see that this is done. You know, you hear people up here against marine shale, and every one of them, I guarantee you, have 20 to 25 of some sort of hazardous material in their house. I like to know what they do with it. If you close up marine shale, what are you going to do about getting rid of the hazardous material in this country? I thought the EPA was formed to see that this is done in a manner that is safe for human health. I think with all the investigations that y'all done of marine shale, that you should know that this company has the best technology of any incinerator or whatever you want to have it to get rid of the hazardous material in this country. I'm going to tell you personally how I feel about this from everything that I read. I think this is a competitive driven campaign to close up marine shale for the benefit of the Hazardous Waste Treatment Council, and Mr. Rollins is the first on the list. I have here the Smith-Boney-Shearson analyst report on Rollins. This is what it's all about, gentlemen. It's about money. The big money that Rollins is losing. And it seemed to me that you people are trying to protect an antiquated incinerator that you know the end result is just as hazardous as when it was put in there and had to be put into a landfill. I only know of 2 types of landfill. One that is leaking, and there's one that is about to leak. Now this is not all bad. The bad part about it is that my grandchildren will have to clean up those pits. The good part about it is that Marine Shell will be here to clean it up. Smith-Barney report here said this was released on February the 7th, and I knew that this hearing would probably be coming up when I read in the Morning Advocate that the Hazardous Waste Treatment Council is suing EPA to do something about marine shell and about their regulation. I told my wife, I said, well, in a few days we're going to see something happen. And sure enough, this came right on down the line. It's hit this hearing. Smith-Barney opinion of Rollins is 3H. Neutral to high risk. In this report, they said that a regulatory action is in the making. But even though with that, they say they don't want no part of the Rollins stock. To me, what everything I've been reading, that is the big issue in this thing. Trying to protect an outfit like Rollins, who has spent millions of dollars to close up marine shell, going to the extent of hiring people in this community, spreading false propaganda, getting everybody stirred up in this community to try to close marine shell down when they should have been putting that money in research and development to build a better mousetrap. It's been reported that they have spent over $20 million to close marine shell down. Well, partner, you could have done a lot of research and development and come up with something that maybe would be better than marine shell. This country's got to be cleaned up, gentlemen. How you expect it to be cleaned up if you close a place like marine shell that is known all over the world to have the best technology? Yes, I support marine shell and I support them heavy. I did a lot of research into before I supported marine shell. And when you do your research, you find that they have the best technology there is in this world. What I can't understand, your scientific people, as you heard Mr. McWade said, that in this handbook, which I read it myself, that they said in this handbook that marine shell has the best process there is. Verification is the route to go. They give all the schematic of the plant and exactly how the flow will go and everything. And still in all, EPA wants to shut marine shell down. Is it that the left hand don't know what the right hand doing, or the right hand don't know what the left hand doing? I mean, something is wrong someplace. Southwest Laboratory, a company that y'all contract with, says that the process, that the aggregate that marine shell put out could be used for many purposes. I know you're getting ready to put a stop to me, and all I want to do is, I'm going to put a stop to it. I want y'all to please look into this matter real well. This is a first-class company, hired with plenty of people in this parish. They say 380, that's on the payroll. I'll guarantee you with contract labor, you're talking about over 500 people this plant hired in this community. And if they was doing wrong, they could hire 1,000 people and I would be against them. But but they're not doing nothing wrong. This is a first-class company. I'm asking y'all to sit down with them, and if you can help them to better their plant, I want you to do it. And I would appreciate it if y'all would give them their permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Domino. I bought a car from you in 1962. I did. I lived here 3 years, and you were also in a play. You were the foreman of the jury. There was it. Yeah, right. Maxine Domino.
Good evening, Mr. Chandler, ladies and gentlemen of the panel. I'm Maxine Domino. I'm a communications consultant for Marine Shell Processors, and I have been associated with the company as a contract person and as a consultant since 1987. Tonight, I bring you greetings from our parish president and from our former mayor, Mayor Cedric Fleur, and from the president of Nichols State University. Each member has been unable to attend because of conflicting engagements this evening, and they've asked me to read statements from them, if I may. First, from our parish president, Mr. O. Ray Rogers. The letter is directed to Mr. Gallagher, and I quote, "As Chief Executive Officer of the Parish of St. Mary, I'm extremely concerned that the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency proposed that Marine Shell Processors' application for a final permit to operate its multi-patented manufacturing process be denied. Marine Shell Processors operates within a stringently regulated industry. Its method and apparatus for using hazardous waste to form non-hazardous aggregate patent has been issued on 6 continents and 28 foreign nations. Why, with the technology in the United States, are we unable to get a decision based on logical and technical justifications that outline specific details regarding deficiencies and how to follow specific guidelines to allow for the facility to be permitted? Treatment of hazardous waste is a major concern to every citizen of the world, and especially to me here in St. Mary Parish. However, I feel it is imperative that this corporation, which is of vital importance to the economy of the area, continue to overcome adversity in an industry which affects the health and safety of all our citizens. We certainly need to have a method to dispose and treat hazardous waste. And if Marine Shell Processors' method is not the best available technology, that EPA must make a decision on a remedy to the environmental abuse that incineration and landfilling inflicts. I request that EPA use its people and its talents to assist Marine Shell Processors in providing the country with this service, which is critical to the entire country." And the letter is signed sincerely, O. Ray P. Rogers, St. Mary Parish President, and he's directed copies of this letter to Senators J. Bennett Johnston, John Rowe, and to Representative Billy Tosin, W.J. Tosin. I would like that to be entered as part of the record on behalf of President Rogers.
Yes, ma'am. That would be exhibit number 24.
Thank you. A second letter is from Mr. Cedric LaFleur, who is the Mayor Emeritus of the City of Morgan City. Mr. LaFleur served this city for 10 years, and I read the letter once again is directed to Mr. Gallagher. As the former mayor of Morgan City, 1983 to 1993, I can assure you that no issue has affected this area as much as the controversy that has surrounded Marine Shell Processors Incorporated. The public records reflect that much of this controversy was created by people who were supported by a Washington-based lobbying group working on behalf of MSP's competitors. In spite of this controversy, MSP's inventions have gained substantial marketplace acceptance. The company now employs nearly 400 people, and its presence provides a substantial economic impact on Louisiana. The company has also been nominated for several awards that traditionally honor outstanding achievement. Throughout its history, MSP has been an exemplary corporate citizen. With both human and financial resources, MSP consistently supports civic, social, educational, and humanitarian efforts throughout South Louisiana. In my official capacity as mayor of Morgan City, I had many opportunities to meet distinguished people with an interest in MSP's technology. Based upon what I now know personally about MSP and upon information shared with knowledgeable sources whose judgments I respect, I believe MSP to be a major asset for Louisiana and for the country as a whole. I ask that EPA move expeditiously to settle whatever issues remain to be settled about MSP's regulatory status. A great majority of people with a history of being contributing citizens to this area, in my judgment, support and cherish the presence of the company. I ask further that you issue the company's Part B permit and put these issues to rest. The issuance of the permit, in my opinion, is the only appropriate action that would properly serve the people of this area. And the letter is signed Cedric S. LaFleur, Mayor Emeritus of the City of Morgan City. And I also ask that this be entered into the record on behalf of Mayor Emeritus Cedric LaFleur.
So accepted. It'll be Exhibit 25.
Thank you. The next letter is from Dr. Donald J. Io. Dr. Io is president of Nichols State University, and he sends his regrets that he could not be here personally. Again, the letter is directed to Mr. Gallagher. I'm writing you today on behalf of Marine Shell Processors Incorporated, located in Morgan City, Louisiana. Marine Shell Processors is considered to be a good corporate citizen of this area and is vital to the economy of the region. This company and its personnel are conscientiously committed to compliance with all state and federal regulations relative to the protection of the environment. Therefore,